We've all been there. You get a few hours into your favorite factory sim, and you start seeing all the ways you could have done things differently. StarRupture can certainly make you feel like you've made missteps along the way, especially once you add in the survival and combat elements. Here are all the things I wish I had known before starting StarRupture's early access, so you don't have to start over like I did. So many times. While we all feel the pull to simply quit out and hit new game for a completely fresh start, there are multiple ways you can tear things down to put them back together how you'd like. Not only can you dismantle things piece by piece using the deconstructor, you can also deconstruct a base core, which will return everything you've built into raw materials. While the building material and meteorite heart will return straight to your inventory, a temporary storage case will be created that houses everything those structures were carrying or extracting, so be ready to move them to a new location since they won't be protected when outside of a base core. It can seem like a lot of work to dismantle an entire base, but it's honestly not that bad to rebuild once you have a clearer idea of what you need, which brings me to my next point. A good rule that will pay dividends as you go is to create a system for organization and stick with it. This can be any system, as long as it makes sense for you. For instance, since resource deposits that you place extractors on are rarely aligned together, I like to create a set of platforms and structures that all those extractors funnel to. Nothing is more aggravating than needing to trace every rail through a mess of mechanical spaghetti to find out exactly where your raw materials are going. This also means you should give yourself more room than you currently need between your raw materials and the endpoint of every harvest, your OCLs, that send what you create to the corporations to receive rewards. What they require to level up will very quickly turn into more complex items that need smelters, fabricators, furnaces, and more, and it's better to keep an empty space for that now than it is to keep tearing down and rebuilding to push things out as you go. All that being said, there's no way to account for every new change the new corporation goals will throw at you, so don't be precious if your rules are no longer working. Sometimes dismantling and rebuilding with a newfound knowledge of what you need is the best way to go. Speaking of the various corporations, while you'll need to upgrade all of them eventually to acquire essential rewards, each of them focus on a particular branch of equipment, items, or machinery you'll receive by increasing their level. Future Health Solutions rewards you with items that keep you alive and enhance your physical abilities. Particularly of note are regeneration chambers, so you're not always respawning at the lander every time you die, and the LEM station, which allows you to install perks on your physical body like increased time before needing food or water, more efficient movement, and faster mining. You'll also unlock the compounder at level 9, which is needed to create these products. The Selenian Corporation is billed as a space mining corporation, and their rewards help you do exactly that. The fabricator and furnace are early essentials to create important resources like rods, wires, sheets, and titanium housing, and many of the things they make require recipes you unlock by providing other materials. Best to unlock these early and start dumping extra materials ASAP, but I'll have more to say on that later. Make sure to get Selenian to at least level 4 to not slow down your future workflow. Griffith's Blue is where you'll acquire rewards to enhance your combat abilities, including guns, grenades, equipment stations, and even automated defenses like turrets. Once you unlock the pistol at level 2, this will probably be your least important corporation for a while as you won't face much combat as long as you don't venture too far out, and the early enemies are pretty easily dealt with. If you'd rather explore the map rather than tend to your home, then knock yourself out. But I really didn't need anything from them until I was about 5 or 6 hours in. I'm gonna skip the Moon Energy Corporation for now as that leads directly into my next point, so we'll cover Clever Robotics first. Clever Robotics provides you with some really important automation functions such as extra storage, faster rails and multi-rails, and the ability to move cargo long distances. Of special note as well is the building drone, which lets you build from a third-person eye-in-the-sky view rather than just from the viewpoint of your character. It's also very useful to just get a quick glance at your structures to take stock of your operation. While the Moon Energy Corporation's later rewards are fantastic for creating more power for your bases, the early rewards are exceptional as well, including the vital recipe station and the map. The map is self-explanatory, but the recipe station is essential to build early, as it unlocks so many more potential resources for your other structures to build, including important machine parts you'll need to build towards other rewards. It also includes traditional recipes as you would normally think of them, such as food and drink items to keep you alive. The only way to unlock these parts and items is to provide the recipe station with materials and resources you've collected, as well as data points from the analysis machine. Since recipes will cost so many data points, it's best to just not spend all these on corporation rewards. If you just need a few points to get you over the line to the next reward, by all means, spend them. But you'll be much better off investing in recipes, as those will directly contribute to automated systems that will passively earn you corporation rewards later. Don't go for the easy reward now, when you'll have multiplied efficiency down the line. In that same vein, while storage is important, don't just let valuable resources sit there instead of working for you. Dump as many materials you no longer need into the recipe station as you can. When you're done sending away resources through the OCL to claim rewards, you'll often have an excess of them left over in your machines. Take those straight to the recipe station so you're not wasting time hunting them down later. And just like I mentioned creating a system for your structures earlier, do the same for your storage and keep like-minded items together. Do as I say, not as I do. I fail so you can succeed. I know anytime someone says to keep a journal, it's easy to immediately tune out, but I think it's a good idea to at least write down what your end goals currently are to achieve your next rewards. Just look at your corporate terminal's current recipes section and write down what you need to be sending out through your OCLs. Between extracting ore, using smelters, fabricators and furnaces, connecting everything by rails, providing power, and making sure everything is moving efficiently, it's very easy to forget what you're currently aiming towards accomplishing. Each corporation goal is a collection of a ton of tiny goals, so put something on paper or in a document to keep aiming towards, otherwise you'll end up spinning your wheels. Speaking of spinning your wheels, you'll need to get good at predicting, spotting, and solving bottlenecks in your automations, as one weak link can grind your progress to a halt. The first thing to look for are yellow lights on a machine, as that can usually indicate that something has halted, as opposed to blue when it's actively working. There could be a number of reasons for this, whether your OCLs have completed their current task, or one part of the assembly line is working at capacity. The best way to figure out what's causing the issue is to start at the end of the chain and work backwards until you find the culprit. If it's the OCL, you can select a new task if the current line of structures allows for it, and if the OCL isn't the problem, a machine may be reading as output full. This means they can't pass on what they've created fast enough to keep creating, and anytime something isn't being created, time is being wasted. A band-aid fix is to simply take the resource being created out of the machine so it can start producing the resource again, but you can also create storage depots to buy yourself some time to make more machines, and depots fit easily into existing workflows as they can also pass on what they're storing. Once they're full, give them somewhere else to go, or empty them out and see if that raw material is needed for a recipe. Once you start venturing out to discover more of the map, you'll come across old abandoned bases. While you can't build at these locations, you'll often find a ton of valuable resources you can turn in at the analyzer for data points, and blueprints you'll need for important recipes. When you start exploring, these are the first places you should hit.
Rupture's core is unstable. Head to safety immediately.
In case you were wondering why it was called StarRupture, every 50 to 55 minutes or so, I timed it out but that may not be exact, you'll need to take cover from the giant exploding star that engulfs the entire planet. This keeps you from wandering too far away from shelter without being prepared, and it will shut operations of your machinery down while it's overheated. As long as you stay inside one of your habitats, you'll be safe. But you'll need to plan around these explosions. Thankfully, it's also an opportunity to gather more resources. Ignitium is an important resource that's used to upgrade your base cores, and can be given to the analyzer for a massive amount of early points. Unfortunately, they can only be found immediately after a rupture, so prioritize finding these little flaming meteors as soon as you venture back outside, since your structures will spend some time cooling down anyway. While I've spent most of this time on building, there's a whole survival element to StarRupture we've barely touched on, because it's not as important during the early hours as long as you stay fed and hydrated. Polyfruit and hydropods can both be found in abundance, and any that you don't need to consume directly can be given to the recipe station to unlock better food and drink items. When the star ruptures, the world will take a few minutes to grow everything back. And while these resources won't appear in the exact same place, they'll still be pretty abundant. So a good rhythm to follow is to collect Ignitium in the immediate aftermath, and then your food and water resources once the vegetation returns. Also, ruptures tear away the covering from these caves. If you want to enter, you need to jump in after a rupture, and before the vegetation grows back.
A cave? It's worth exploring.
As mentioned earlier, you'll start to face more combat as you venture further into the map, and the vermin you encounter won't be too difficult at first. You can even use your mining laser to clear them out. However, if you plan on activating devices out in the wild like geoscanners, it will draw enemies to you in swarms. It's a good idea to have at least one actual gun and your grenade from Griffith's Blue, and your med tool from Future Health Solutions, and you should craft some extra ammo from the basic item printer. The vermin can flood in pretty quickly, and it's good to be prepared when you do finally start to engage more enemies. Also, build a regeneration chamber in your nearest habitat so if the worst happens, you won't be super far away from where you died. Well, if that seemed like a lot, it's because this game is a lot. It's also still in early access and is subject to change pretty quickly, so there's always more to learn. If you have tips you want to share in the comments, have at it. There's always new ways to optimize. And for everything else gaming, you're already in the right place. IGN.